Guarantee today's funeral prices. Pre-arrange at Bath Naylor and First School Funeral Homes.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Lori Horton joining us in the studio, and you've got something absolutely delicious. We were talking about The Rock being president. We were thinking John Cena as vice president, Arnold Schwarzenegger Speaker of the House. I'm telling you, we would enter an era of unprecedented world peace. However, Lori, if you were to take what you're making to world leaders today, we could enter an unprecedented era of world peace because you've got these delicious apple pie cookies.
You are gifted in the segue. I didn't see that coming at all.
I've got to be gifted in something because, as we know, I don't cook very well. That's why I don't touch anything that Lori's making.
Look, if Dwayne Johnson wants to be president, I support that ticket. At least we'd have one that's kind of pretty for once.
I can't speak to that, but you know, I think he'd scare the other world leaders. Whatever he wanted is what he'd get.
I love it. Can't do any worse than anybody else.
That's very true.
We've gotten way off topic. Let's get back to cookies.
Look at what we've got This is whipped cream.
This is so simple. This is Cool Whip. This is straight out of the container Cool Whip. And I'm putting the whole tub in there this morning. We are doing something here that you can absolutely get the kids on board with helping out with. It is so easy. Start with that entire cup of Cool Whip. And I made with the extra creamy because I just think it's a little richer. I mean, if you're going to just go big or go home, right?
Exactly.
And then we've got a simple box of spice cake mix, dry batter, dry mix. Oop, throw it at you. No extras in there. Regular size box, okay? Nothing out of the ordinary. As most people that bake know, a regular size box isn't the same size that it used to be, but that's a topic for another day. And one whole large egg, as always, because remember when we bake, we usually always a large egg. It's just the assumption.
You've got to have the egg.
You got to have the egg most of the time. This is going to look kind of funky at first, almost a little bit like a marshmallow cream.
Okay.
As we mix this dry stuff in.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
We're starting with that Cool Whip. It's cream, so it's a little funky, but you just got to keep going with that, and you're going to get a really wild-looking batter, but it is going to come together at the end. And when we get ready to start baking this, super important, parchment liner on our cookie sheet because this is going to be kind of a sticky batter.
Okay.
So it's going to be one of those when it comes out of the oven. It's going to be kind of glued to that pan if you don't put a little bit of something in between there.
Unless you're looking for a challenge. I mean,
it still will taste delicious, but then you got to clean the cookie sheet, and that's a whole lot of work, and nobody likes that.
There goes the cookie sheet right into the trash.
Right? We'll just buy a new one.
That was the last batch.
So we've about got it ready.
Okay, it's looking pretty good so far.
Pretty stiff, pretty sticky looking. So all's going to come together, and that is the whole of our ingredients for the start of our cookie batter. Then, after we portion this out onto our cookie sheet, we're going to come back and we're going to add the delicious extra ingredient on top, which is our apples.
But
there's a little extra step with that to get them on there and have it really look nice and not be a mess. So we're going to start with our batter. When we come back in the 7 o'clock, we're going to finish that, and I'm going to show you how we get that ready to go before it goes in the oven through the magic of television.
All right, we love the magic of television. Of course, we love having Lori here with us. So like she said, join us over at 7 a.m. to see how the rest of this comes out. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News after this.
Plus, Friday through Monday, veterans save an extra 5% only at Ashley.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Lori Horton. She was with us in the 6 o'clock hour. She's back. Now, if you missed the 6 o'clock, you missed one of the key things, which was getting this all ready. But
very important.
Don't worry, it'll all be together on our website a little later. So we've already we put everything together.
We made our batter. We made our cookie dough, so to speak, just that simple Cool Whip cake mix, egg. Nothing to it. Spooned that out with a cookie scoop because, again, it's kind of a sticky, you're not going to be able to really form a ball or do any of that.
And you mentioned to put the parchment paper down because this is a very sticky dough.
Yes, make it a whole lot easier for cleanup after it's all said and done, and a lot easier on getting that off of your pan. But the next step we've got to do is make this apple.
Okay.
We've got the spice, we've got the filling, but we need that apple. And you can get fancy, you can cook up your apples and make that from scratch if you want to, absolutely. But you can also just buy a can of the apple pie filling. The problem with that is our pieces come out really big. So this is kind of a typical slice out of a can of apple pie filling, right? A little awkward to place
A little more
on our
difficult.
big
Yeah,
cookie.
yeah, it won't work so well.
All I did was put this in a smaller bowl and just took a little paring knife, and I came through here and diced this up into some smaller, little bit more manageable pieces when it comes to actually putting that on our cookie.
Okay.
So this is my experience pro tip. This gets a little sticky. So I'm gonna take the back of my spoon. I'm gonna dip this in the gooey, the really yummy part of the apple pie filling, and just make a little well in the top of that. And by dipping it in that, it's not gonna stick to my spoon as much, and I'm actually gonna be able to create a little divot for that, as opposed to just making a gooey mess on the top that's gonna come off with my spoon.
Okay, yeah, we don't wanna do that.
We don't wanna do that, so we're gonna just make that little spot, and then I'm gonna come back with a little scoop of those apples. And you don't have to be real precise. They're gonna move around, they're gonna kind of bake on there and make that nice topping. So don't try to be all precise. It's not gonna work.
It's not science, it's art.
No, don't overthink it, as we say. It's just food. So we'll put a little scoop of that on every single one. And then we're gonna bake this in a 350-degree oven for about 12 to 14 minutes. This was no magic of television. This was magic of the break room oven. We baked these about 12 minutes this morning. So it was absolutely perfect. And those come off with the bottom, just a really nice light golden brown. Ooh, yeah. Okay, you'll be able to kind of see that edge on your paper when it comes out of the oven. So that's your clue that those are ready to roll. Right?
These look amazing.
They really are. You kind of have some of those recipes that you really, really love. I can't go past an apple pie recipe of any kind. And this time of year, pumpkin spice gets all the love, but we can't forget that it's apple season.
No, we cannot. And
Thanksgiving is coming. These are going to be a great one for that. But when you get them out of the oven, let them cool for just a few minutes where it's comfortable and they're a little bit set up. Then we're going to transfer these over to a wire rack. And we're going to make that last step, which is a nice little cinnamon glaze to top those with. That's the final step that really brings it to apple pie level. Really delicious. They're good right here. They're good to stop right here, but they're better with the cinnamon glaze.
You've got to get to that final step here. And we are going to get to that final step right after this.
I'm not coming out until Casey's has
pizza. Get the second 50% off. Only at Casey's.
Welcome back to the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. Lori Horton again with us here. She didn't go anywhere because if she did, all of this would be gone by now. Then we wouldn't have a segment right now. So, Lori, we've got another final step. There's one more thing because, like you said, these are great the way they are, but they really need this extra step.
We always have to take things to the next level.
We do.
Can't just stop with good. We've got to go to great.
Absolutely, we do.
I've got in my bowl here just some powdered sugar.
Okay.
I'm going to add a little heavy whipping cream, and you really just sort of measure this with your heart. Don't get too overwhelmed on that. You're going to whisk it together until it's just kind of a nice liquid. And what we're going to do is drizzle it over the top, so that's what you want in your head. How am I going to get this to a texture that has a nice pour to it? So, sometimes you get lucky on the first shot. But this is just sweet and vanilla flavored, which is fine. I've got a little apple pie spice.
Okay.
Which is a cinnamon, sugar, nutmeg, all of those lovely little fall spices and flavors in there. And again, you just kind of put some in there. You can give it a little taste, see if it's about right, add more. This is not a precise little step here. This is just for a little extra added flavor.
Okay.
And a little bit of fun. But I'm going to add just a little dash more because I want to be able to see it.
Oh, absolutely.
So we get that in there. Again, now see, you can kind of see those little specks of those spices. You've got a good pour to it. So to make it really simple and a little bit less messy than it has to be, I'm going to take my little sandwich bag. This is a pretty, technical piece of equipment here.
It is.
We're going to pour that in it. And then, if I had a pair of scissors, I would cut the corner off of that. But I don't.
We might have some scissors around here.
We might, but, we don't have time for that. So we're going to just take our spoon, and we're going to take this and sort of drizzle it across the top. What I did on my little rack here, this is just our cooling rack, but put that parchment paper underneath it that I baked those cookies on. Again, a little bit less messy. When we go to clean up, you can leave it on your cookie sheet if that's the last step, however you need to do that. But we're just gonna take a nice drizzle across there. You can go as heavy-handed or as not as you want. And you are just gonna have a good little sweet extra topping to that.
Oh, no, I like
Okay.
this.
Now that will set up fairly quickly. So you just want to let it cool. Make sure your cookies are pretty cool by the time this goes on there, or else it's just going to sort of melt into them otherwise.
Okay.
But
Yeah, we don't
cookies
want to do
cool.
that.
We don't want to do that. I mean, it would be delicious also, but we want it to look good and be able to tell that it's still on there. So cookies are nice and cool. We add that glaze on the top and let it kind of set up and cool, and they are going to be awesome. Eat them within a day or two, but that's not usually a problem.
Yeah, I would say they would probably be gone in a minute or two, just based on how they look, how they smell. So
they really break into this nice, cakey kind of a
gosh, look
cookie
at
in the
that.
center. It's probably a sample.
Okay, let's give it a try.
Quality
here.
control, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Rule number 1 is never eat on television. We just broken it.
I'm all right with breaking that rule.
Me too.
Well, if you want this recipe, of course, we got the information on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Lori, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you, in a couple more weeks?
Couple weeks.
All right. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.